Tonight, Eric wears some shorts, I drink some tea, and Brandon gets stuck in the wrong decade.
Which you were okay with.
All I know
relatively.
I
Which
got
one
a
is supposed to go
picture
back home carless?
of the CTS coming home on the back of a lorry, which it better not end up on during our trip to the Gap. But I digress. It is time for us to start the show tonight. So, welcome. We are going to begin by opening up with your review of the Volkswagen Beetle Turbo R-Line. Let's hit it.
Volkswagen. Here we have a 2014 Volkswagen R-Line Beetle. How could it be recognized as anything other than that? Now, we all know Volkswagen as being the low-priced car in the 1960s. The Beetle built its reputation on being indestructible and reliable and low-cost transportation. But has it moved on from that? We're decades later and we're looking at a new front-wheel drive Beetle instead of a rear-engined rear-wheel drive Beetle. Now, back in the 1960s, you'd think that Volkswagen was the most inexpensive car on the road, but in reality it was not. Now, my family tells a story of my uncle who was notoriously frugal, and he went out and bought a brand new BMW instead of a new Volkswagen because it was cheaper. BMW moved on. They started to build things like the 1600, the 2002, and then eventually the 3 Series. BMW grew up. Has Volkswagen? This is our second generation VW New Beetle. It's no longer called New Beetle, it's just Beetle. But as you recall, that car revived the spirit of the original car, and everybody thought it was cute, adorable. It had a little flower bud vase next to the instrument panel. It had a real high arcing roof. It came in bright colors. And as you can see, this car isn't exactly that. The R-Line stands for the 2.0 Turbo. The 2.0 Turbo has 210 horsepower and 207 foot-pounds of torque. That's a lot more power than the old horizontally opposed flat 4 that you could get in the original Beetle. But truthfully, 210 horsepower by today's standards, as the top-of-the-line engine you can get in the Beetle, is really not that powerful. It feels pretty good in this car. There's a lot of, you can feel the turbo spool up, you can kind of feel the lag and then it kick in, so you can kind of imagine how little power this car would have without the turbo. That's maybe a downside. But it is kind of fun. But then we start thinking about what other cars can you get for the price of an R-Line Turbo? The R-Line starts at $24,995. Now, that might not sound like a lot of money until you start to think about cars like the Ford Mustang or the Chevy Camaro. The Camaro, for instance, starts at under $24,000 and has a 323 horsepower V6. Okay, so you've got more power with the Camaro, but surely the Beetle is more frugal, right? Well, the R-Line gets 31 miles per gallon on the highway and the Camaro gets 30. So they're pretty close. If you were to go downgrade a Beetle to the base engine, you're still only getting 33 miles per gallon. So unless you jump up to a diesel, you're not going to be getting much better gas mileage than a Camaro or a Mustang. So inside the Beetle, the R-Line gives a couple upgrades over the base Beetle. It gives this simulated carbon fiber. Notice how it matches my ring. And we get these piano black accents. The base cars come with body colored accents both on the dash and on the door panels. There are only 3 ways you can equip an R-Line. The R-Line comes either as base or with a package called Sun and Sound, which includes the Fender audio system with 8 speakers and the sunroof, which has this nice semi-transparent panel, and then it also tilts open and slides back. There's a third option package, which is the sun, sound, and navigation. Now the unfortunate thing there is that the sun and sound package adds about $3,000 to the price of the R-Line. So if you get the sun, sound, and nav, you're now hitting $30,000 for a Beetle. That begins to feel a little bit pricey. So we mentioned that the Beetle R-Line gets 31 miles per gallon on the highway. Well, our real-world experience has resulted in 32 miles per gallon. I was very impressed with that. That exceeds that's not the average rating, that's the highway rating that we exceeded. And that was with mixed driving. And you know how we are, enthusiastic whenever we can be. We really enjoyed the handling of this car though. You know, normally we take a preference to rear-wheel drive cars, and this car handles quite well despite being front-wheel drive. One of the things that no doubt helps the handling is the independent rear suspension. That is not something that was originally offered when the revised Beetle came out a few years ago. So that is an upgrade, that is an improvement. Kudos to VW. So, has the Beetle grown up? When you consider that there are cars on the market like the Chevrolet Spark, the Nissan Versa, the Mitsubishi Mirage, I think the answer is yes. The real question though is, can it compete with the Mustang and Camaro? That is for you to decide.
I liked the Beetle, but it was more manly. However, I thought for roughly 24 grand, 23, 24, it's in the video,
Up to 30
I
grand.
thought that the fact that you could cross-shop a V6 Camaro or Mustang,
and get 30
Almost
yeah,
match
I
the
mean,
fuel
yeah,
economy.
yeah,
Fuel
almost-
economy,
almost match the
match
fuel
it better.
economy.
manual transmissions, rear-wheel drive,
It really makes
coupe
you say
body,
you gotta love the Beetle.
300 plus horsepower.
Yeah,
That is a big power difference.
yeah. You gotta really love. You gotta really want a Beetle.
Really
and,
want a
and,
Beetle.
And granted, those cars are not. I mean, people aren't cross-shopping Beetles and Camaros
No,
and Mustangs.
not necessarily.
Camaros, Mustangs, yes.
But if you're just looking for a two-door coupe of some sort in that price range, yeah, you have to cross-shop it.
Yeah,
There's something to be said, though, for, I mean, the Camaro even almost is lacking a bit. It's now that it's been around for a few years. It
Lacking.
doesn't
The only
have-
thing the Camaro is lacking is visibility.
well,
It has everything else in abundance.
there's just something about the Beetle that gives it a little bit out of the mainstream feel. You know, the interior has that kind of upright, flat dash you don't see very often anymore.
Tall shifter.
actually,
You know,
a fairly
you
long
have the-
hood by
Yes, it
today's
is.
Yeah.
standards. I mean, like you can actually see it from the driver's.
You obviously
You know.
can pick them out of any parking lot. It's got
Did
an
you guys
exterior look.
see
it's
that
got an
cheap
interior
Chinese
look.
knockoff of the Beetle
I
with the
did,
four
yeah.
doors?
Yeah, I've
That
been
was-
saying
do we have a
VW
picture
should
of
make
that?
a four-door for a while.
That was
Yeah.
pretty terribly
Actually,
amusing.
the ridge on the hood on the knockoff actually makes it more look more like a Beetle than the Beetle.
Right. Yeah, except it looks like somebody bent it like over a pipe. Just like
And then
Regardless
stuck a Nissan badge on
of the
front.
competition, though, we can say that the Beetle is pretty good these days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it-
23,
it's
23,
fairly
24 is not a
nicely
lot of money
equipped.
for that
Yeah,
car.
for that money.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it has
And
nice
it-
big tires and
well, it has the
wheels and
fantastic
that engine
2-liter
we
turbo,
love. It's not going out of style.
cute little red calipers.
Yeah.
behind
But
the
the thing
wheels.
that's frustrating to me about that car, if you, putting pony cars aside, is the way that you can option it. It's like if you want, they've got like the sound and nav
Yes.
group, and it's like if you want this, you've got to get the sunroof, and
Yeah.
it's like there's only like 3 ways to configure it,
Right.
and you
I
can't
hate when they make
you
you bundle a
can't you
sunroof.
can't
I don't go into a burger joint and say, I want fries with that, and they automatically put pickles with it because of it. No, I don't want pickles. I just want fries. Well, I would actually like pickles. You
I don't like pickles.
Anyways, regardless, it is time to do the news because that's why we're here today. So, start off with quick reflection on one of our number in the business being canned this week.
Aw.
Jeremy Clarkson officially sacked from Top Gear from the BBC.
What a run.
That was a good run.
I was,
End of an era.
I was unhappy that it sounds like Jeremy could not control his professional demeanor enough to avoid ruining the greatest motoring show on God's green earth.
Now, it was going to have to end sometime. What frustrates me is that, or saddens me, whatever, is that they weren't able to go out with a final episode.
It would have been epic. I'd have loved to have seen
Yes.
on that bombshell.
Well,
and
and we
fade
literally,
to black.
quite literally got
We got
on
a
that
bombshell,
bombshell.
but not really the one we
Yeah.
wanted. So not
Yeah.
good for anybody involved, especially if you are a car enthusiast who enjoys big budget.
Or the other guy on the other end of his fist that night.
You know,
Anyways,
Yeah.
we digress. Let's talk about cars.
Oh.
So the 2015 2015 New York Auto Show is coming up here next
Can't wait.
week.
so I think
We'll start off with this.
a 5-year-old.
Oh, the producers gave me an old picture, it seems, of the Infiniti QX50.
That's okay, unless all they've done is renamed it. And
Maybe
changed
that's
the
all
front
they-
and
that's
everything
all
else.
that could they all have none.
seem to
Maybe
need
that's
to do
all.
with Infinity.
Right.
If that's the news coming out of the New York Auto Show, we're in big trouble. Though,
Yes.
because that is.
So anyways, a new
Unchanged.
QX50 is on the way. I don't know, maybe those wheels are different. Okay, next, Kia Optima. We do have a picture of this one. This is a
Just
real
one.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
but it's very good looking. And we did get
Oh,
that
it's
image of the
This,
from Geneva. Remember there was that
that
concept?
station wagon looking one.
Right.
Yeah,
that was
that was-
gorgeous.
that was very
Don't come out with the
attractive.
sedan. Just come out with the wagon. That's all we need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
But Kia's
Just skip
moving
this
along
one.
in the right direction and trying to kind of shed their past vanilla. You
Oh, yeah.
know,
Oh, they haven't had
Look,
vanilla
for
in a while.
The all their
is
their
good
current
design.
lineup is
Maybe
actually pretty
French
good.
vanilla.
I really like the front end of even the Sedona minivan that we had.
Yes, the Sedona minivan was
the
good.
the new little crossover SUVs and stuff had that same really neat grille texture. I think it looks modern. I think
The
it
new
looks unique.
Sorrento looks very,
Yeah, I think
very
that's the one.
class
Yeah,
competitive.
So the
Then
Optima,
there's the Soul.
it does its own thing,
It's
but they
it's a
sell like
funky
hotcakes.
little.
You can't fault them. They sell like
not at
100,000
all.
a year.
Not at all. And I actually think, am somewhat a fan of the Soul. It is interesting how they're able to successfully put this signature like handlebar whatever grill on the Soul and the Optima, have a family resemblance, and yet you don't think hamster when you see this.
Exactly.
And
no,
yet
you
the
actually
Soul
think, well,
keeps
that's
its
kind of
own
grown
character,
up.
you
Actually,
know?
when I looked at this at first, I'm like, ooh, is that a little too close to the Camry?
No, the Camry's got a very
And
unattractive lower grill.
well,
that
everything's
kind of mimics,
unattractive about the
apes
Camry. Anyway, speaking
Lexus
of
Spindle
unattractive, let's go to this one
Woo!
next.
That looks like a catfish.
And has a,
It's an awfully
I-
fast and fun, probably.
What is this?
but
315 horsepower.
it's getting up there. It
It's a nice
looks,
shade of blue.
That is
It's
going
a
to be
gorgeous
it's gonna be
shade
a
of
very
blue.
toy package. Very toy.
Yes. So the Ford Focus RS is officially coming to our shores.
And we've never been able to say that, so that's pretty exciting.
That's
in its
very
own right.
exciting. I would drive it. I just
The problem
Close my eyes
is, the
getting
problem
into it
is
a
for
little
us.
bit.
We'll get back to the Beetle
And the
pony car
Mustang.
argument. You know that's going to be like 35 grand
I was
Oh, yeah.
thinking
at
40.
least.
Yeah.
So
You
yeah, the
gotta
ST is
have- be a
35. Yeah, that's a good
hatch-
point.
hot
The
hatch
ST
guy.
can push 35.
For,
So then you're
in order
saying,
to
am I
contain
really passing up?
315 horsepower.
Yeah. Well, they are finally getting around to all-wheel drive, which is long overdue when they're trying to push that much power
Exactly.
out of it. So making that all-wheel drive, that is a competitive advantage to certain climates, the all year-round usability, everything that. Not to mention the performance aspects. But if you're pushing 40 grand with that car, I'm still going to be hard pressed to pass up you know, a 5-liter V8 in a well-dressed Mustang with performance track pack and everything.
Right. Or
So-
yes,
Unless
exactly.
you just really, really need rear doors.
Yeah, I guess you know you're not going to be comparing.
And
yeah,
again,
I
but
could see
again,
that.
because
You've got
there is that
hatchback
segment out there
usability.
that the hot hatch group, they go after these things.
Well, yeah. On the other hand,
And
now that you
there's-
think about it, well, at least we don't really know pricing yet, but they don't seem to be having any trouble selling like the Volkswagen Golf R that's coming out now with that
True,
300 horse.
they don't.
And
And there
north
is kind of a
35
void
grand.
forming with, you know, the the Evo missing.
That's
or the
true.
Kind of
You've got-
going
Yeah,
away.
they'll just buy a Subaru.
You've got performance coming from some different areas.
Or
now,
That's
but
another
Mirage.
thing.
it's
No,
exciting
I
to
don't
have
think so.
the RS line coming
Right.
at any regard.
So let's move it upscale a little bit. We have Mercedes is showing us off the GLE. So it's the E,
So the
class.
E class of SUVs. That's how you can remember it. GLE.
Well,
Formerly the M
ML
class.
class.
ML class. M,
which was formerly the M class.
well,
Yeah.
I always call it ML so that not to get confused with.
It was always ML.
Because it was always the ML320 or the ML.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, that's a bread and butter type
It is.
lineup for
and
Mercedes.
really,
So
we've seen this
good to see
in
them
the GLE
refreshing
coupe
it.
that was
Mercedes
shown
has
at.
a very fresh
Detroit.
lineup.
Yes.
That's
I mean,
true.
is there anything in their lineup older than the S class now, which was like maybe 18 months ago?
and just look at that interior.
I know they
And
are. They are
that's
really on a
gorgeous.
roll. They have come so far in the
Yeah,
last.
with your
I would
tablet
say
standing in the
They,
middle of the dash.
I know.
the
Isn't
last
that-
3 to 4 years,
Well, I don't
Mercedes
know. That's gonna look
completely-
old very fast.
completely
You think
reinvented
so?
itself.
More than an integrated one that's too far to reach and touch and.
No, that looks.
No,
good.
I think it's gonna look old fast.
Nah.
I think that's
A lot of
I
people
think
are
that's
doing
the
that
trend
now.
right now. Everybody's doing that, but give it 5 years and people are going to be like, "Why is this thing standing in the middle of my dashboard?"
Well, what do you want it to do?
I don't know.
Lay down so you can't see
I
it?
don't want it there at all. It's too
It
distracting.
probably
If you
still
put it
likes
there, you-
carburetors.
possible you have. More
I do not
storage
like
space in there.
carburetors. It's black magic to get those things to work right.
And there's the
The almighty AMG.
60
Well, it's
GLE
a
63,
which
and-
has probably a 5.5 liter turbo.
Is it that or is it the 4.4?
Maybe it's a 4.4 now. Good point.
I don't know.
I don't
Mercedes probably
I don't
just
know.
built another, just
It's going to be
designed
a
another
needlessly
V8 while we were
complex
talking about
engine that gives lots of power.
it. Oh, and there's
my
the
thought.
standard one in case we had.
Wait,
They all look good.
Yeah, that's the
They all
standard.
look
that
good.
is-
I was showing you the GL.
Yeah, the standard one has
AMG.
the more traditional sedan
Correct.
grille.
All right, now let us behold
Jaguar.
Jaguar XF, the one that really started the renaissance for Jag.
Yeah.
It's finally getting back around to
Yeah, it was getting a little long.
fixing it up. And when I first saw this, my first impression was, all right, well, okay, so they gave it new headlights. What else? Really,
Well, it's a six-window greenhouse now.
6-window greenhouse, 3-inch longer wheelbase.
I'm always in favor of that.
Of course, it's got a new engine. Yeah, who isn't? And actually, in my opinion, this thing just looks far more fit and trim all the way around.
Yeah, they
Well,
tidied
you
up
know
the
what?
rear pretty nice.
You know, I keep on trying to figure out what that greenhouse reminds me of because it's very familiar and it's not Jag.
Well,
It's a
but
little.
it looks good.
It's
It looks
Jagish,
good.
but isn't that? Look at that rear end. That's got some F-type in the taillights.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
doubled.
much.
Yeah,
Well, and
because it's the size
and-
of two F-types.
And I think what is also good about this is that it used to be that the XF, the profile of it, certain angles, it looked like a Holden Commodore
It
or a
did.
Pontiac G8.
Yeah, a little generic.
Which is not an
Yeah.
insult, but except
No.
that you don't want to look
What's
like
the inside
something
of it?
that's
There's the
farther
inside.
down market.
Yeah.
Very much. It actually the
It's
inside
definitely
looks a
sporty.
little too business to my eye.
Yeah, there's that
just-
much flash in there. For
It's
being
like
in
they
the
cleaned it
sporting
up too
yeah,
much.
Yeah, it's
It doesn't have
almost-
the floating tablet on top of the dash.
Amen.
So
Well, I don't really mind that much. I'm just saying.
We know
I think it's
Jaguar
gonna
though
be
has made
trendy.
some spectacular drivetrains recently.
Yes.
So from
it's
a
gonna
driving
have
enthusiast standpoint,
the
they're
3-liter
really coming along nicely,
supercharged V6.
which is supposed to be a great engine.
I would imagine the 2-liter turbo is going to find its way in
yeah,
there as
in the base model
well.
probably.
What about transmissions?
8-speed auto.
See, because Jag made this big, display at the North American International Auto Show, promoting that the F-Type offers a manual transmission now.
Yeah.
And it's like they were basically doing a Save the Manuals type campaign with stickers all over the car and stuff. And I'm like, so please, can we have it in a sports sedan too?
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that the XE will come with it.
Yeah, better chance than the X.
I have a very, very hard time getting
Yeah.
my hopes up about the XF. Though, I would be...
The rotary
Looking
knob
for-
just isn't.
No,
quite as-
it just does. There's nothing tactile about that.
it
even
does
though-
retract though, right?
Ooh.
Until it breaks.
Yeah, I can't
See, I mean,
shift.
just look at how business that is.
It's a little
It's
it's a
very
little
plain.
plain. Yeah,
That
it's a little
is-
plain in there, but
I
yeah.
hope they
You know what,
offer...
you know what that actually reminds me of? That reminds me of the interior. The instrument panel reminds me of the Subaru BRZ and Scion FRS.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like that
it's-
simple.
It is quite simple, yes.
But not with that awful radio that those two cars offer.
Yeah,
offer.
And I'll bet the NVH is far better in here.
What
Probably.
It's going to need... I hope they offer some seats in some different colors, because it's going to need some color inside.
Oh,
But,
absolutely.
yeah. Did you know Mitsubishi was still around?
else?
They make
Mitsubishi-
TVs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitsubishi is.
So Mitsubishi, what, the Outlander?
Is this the Outlander or the Outlander Sport? This
I
looks
don't
like the
know.
Outlander,
It's
probably.
Whatever.
They
They gave us
happened to the Endeavor or the Raider or the Gallant
They all
or the
failed
or the
miserably.
Eclipse. Oh wait,
I don't know.
They're all
I'm
gone.
told
They
that
failed miserably.
from a Detroit perspective, this brand is pretty
Don't
much...
they rebadge anything as like a Dodge Colt or a Plymouth Colt or a?
No, that's what they used to do.
What about the Starry and the
Yeah, yeah.
rebadged as a Chrysler Conquest?
That was
They'd be better off if they tried to sell stuff through Chrysler.
probably...
They
Yeah,
probably
Chrysler.
would. The problem is,
especially in Michigan.
this is a market that they should have been competitive in the last number of years if they wanted a chance at any profit, and they clearly were uncompetitive.
It's like they've given up.
But
now they're trying
They're
again.
trying. It seems like, but it would be interesting to know what the drivetrain is, what kind of technology, infotainment systems they'll be able to muster on a budget of about $100.
I don't know. This seems to me. I don't know that they're even trying. This feels like
Like what Suzuki did right before the end.
actually they're saying all the right things, but I don't know that they're doing the right things. It feels like what Ford was doing with Mercury before they killed it off. They're like, oh, we're going to differentiate Mercury by colors and surface textures, and we're very deeply committed to the brand.
Yeah.
I'm
Deeply
just
committed to
when
its
they
brand.
brought out the Mirage as kind of their revival car, and it ended up being like the worst car in the market in 15 years.
It's because we didn't have a worse car anymore. They made the Aveo into the Sonic.
Yeah. Well,
Anyways. Oh, Cadillac CT6. We have one blurry image that we screen captured from a video.
I think that was their
Commercial.
Commercial.
very
or
interesting
something.
commercial,
Yes.
I might add. But
This, to me, looks like a bloated CTS.
no. Bloated would mean that it's like
Okay, it's longer, it's wider, it's bigger.
It's a larger. It's
The wheels are too big.
how can you tell? It's
The
blurry.
wheels are too big.
You've got bad eyesight.
They are big.
They're because
But I don't know.
all
What do you mean
wheels
too
are going
big.
anything
The
over
car
18
is
inches is too
huge.
big.
Oh, well, that's pretty much every wheel offered today.
Exactly. All cars have way too big of wheels. Everything should be 18-inch, 17 or 18. Economy cars,
13.
no. Economy cars,
My Geometra
15s.
had 13.
Entry levels,
Couldn't
15.
even fit a
No,
modern
entry
brake
levels,
inside a
16s.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else, 17s and 18s.
But back,
Maybe 19s on a
Okay,
few sports
well,
cars.
we're going on a
Back to
huge
what we
tangent
actually
about the
know.
Cadillac CT6.
we actually know a few things about this. That is a new family of V6 engines,
Yes, one that's going to be
turbocharged,
twin turbocharged.
Twin
3-liter
turbocharged.
twin turbocharged.
400 horsepower.
Blows my mind.
Well, I don't know if it
I
should
don't
blow
know.
our
The
mind
Cadillac
anymore,
CTS
but-
No, it
Sport
really
has
shouldn't.
how much horsepower?
It-
No,
It's,
but think about the STSV back in 06 when that came out
Yes.
with the supercharged North Star.
Yes.
SAE rated at 469 horsepower.
Okay.
That wasn't all that long ago.
Yes, but that,
That was
was
a
an
V8.
old
It
engine
was a very old engine.
that was supercharged.
Yes. very
Yeah.
conservatively,
Well,
apparently.
we know they can turn the wick up on it. 400 horsepower is probably.
you also
No,
know
not-
GM couldn't get much more power out of that North Star. Yeah,
Well,
we used
agreed.
to be blowing head bolts out of the block.
It's a new,
Sorry.
it's a
Doesn't
different
happen.
time, a different era. Yes, so 400 horsepower, V6 engine, and
34 speakers?
34 speakers
We
by
can't-
Bose.
we can't
GM,
make
I
that
have. No, we are not making
We
this
cannot
up.
make that
GM, I have a proposal for you that's going to save you a lot of cost and weight. You don't need 34 speakers in your car. Get rid of half of them. No one will notice. You will
Except
save.
Audi and Mercedes.
Well, yeah.
It
Just don't
is-
put them on motors.
It is a crazy jump forward, though. Like, for the last number of years, the speaker count has been getting crazy, but it's been going like somebody comes out with 14, then somebody comes out with 16, then
Okay.
somebody comes out with
Do you know
17.
how many speakers my first Cadillac
One
has?
in the driver door.
No, it's in the.
Oh,
it's in the
Back
rear.
parcel
It's in
shelf.
the
way
yeah,
back partial
yeah.
shelf. Okay, so we've gone from 1 to 34. I mean,
34 is a huge
excess
jump.
doesn't even begin to describe it.
Yeah, but
Six-
at least they better not retract and things and
Oh,
raise
they-
like the ones in the Audi A8.
7 of them should retract out of useless places just because you have 34.
That
I don't
is-
know. I don't think we
that is
should knock
tremendous.
this until we listen to it. When
Oh, believe
here's
me.
why. Here's why.
Oh, I'm
because
sure it will
because
sound
with
nice.
with the Audi A8, when we had that car,
Yeah, you kind of fell in love
and
with
and
that.
and I was like, this is ridiculous. It's an $8,000 stereo.
We couldn't
upgrade.
get you on the radio half the
8,000.
time
And
because
I'm
you were
listening to
that.
that. I was listening to John Williams.
Yes, we know.
And I
what
was
you were
listening to the
listening
Imperial March, and I could swear that I heard the orchestra turn the page like on their music as they were playing. It was so crisp and so clear.
is
And all of a sudden,
tremendous.
I'm like, okay, if I had $6,000, $8,000 to play around with on options with this car, I think that would be one of the first ones I put on it. So, 34 speakers might end up being worth it.
I can't help but laugh when I hear someone say it because until I read the press release, it just sounds like the setup to a joke or something. But it's apparently real. I actually kind of almost thought that everybody is tying up with as high end audio manufacturer as they can these days. I almost thought that maybe Bose had become like unimpressive to the premium market that Cadillac was going to, and they're trying to change some of these. I almost expected this car to like represent a new partnership going forward, but they are sticking with Bose. But I think maybe they had to make such a they had to make
Drastic
such an over-the-top
impression.
impression, so to speak, that they're like, Bose, if you come back with less than 30 speakers, we're in deep trouble. So they're like, okay, we found 4 more.
and Bose might have also been thinking, as they're marketing their own brand,
Yeah.
how are we going to
Capture some
establish
headlines.
our brand name
I
in the
guarantee
automotive
you,
segment?
every review of this vehicle will mention the 34 speaker audio.
We're gonna
system.
when we drive this car, we're gonna have to find them.
I can only account for 26. I'm sorry.
And we're going to tag them too.
Little post-it note on each
Yeah.
one.
Anyway.
I can tell this one's off. This one.
All right. We need to move on.
Okay.
All right. Lexus RX.
Oh, I thought that was a Murano.
I don't know what that is.
It's,
Doesn't that,
it
doesn't that
looks
roof
like-
line look like the new Murano?
I am concerned. I don't know why I'm concerned. I am sure. No, I shouldn't even say that. I had to eat a shoe once. I have
true.
a feeling that this is going to be a more coupish looking crossover.
Well, they sure want us to think.
Yeah,
that
I,
from that
have a
photo.
feeling that they have this really dramatic photo, and when we see the real vehicle,
It's gonna
be-
look like-
it's going to look like.
the original RX, where it's just a minivan
Yeah.
with conventional doors.
Yeah, it could be.
I feel like this has set up such a anticipation for this dramatically styled,
well,
just
the NX is quite dramatic. Though not back here,
not
in the front.
Really
It's dramatic,
overall
but not like
it's
pretty
outsized
dramatic.
proportion.
It's
of
like,
a grill and
can we
everything, but-
make up any bigger grill on the front of this vehicle?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
But this
Not
does look
anymore.
promising. The RX is not a pretty vehicle,
No.
yet continues to sell very, very well.
Well, it's because it was the first one of
So
that segment.
imagine how well it would sell if it actually could conquest some buyers from other luxury crossovers based on a dramatic look. So we'll see what's coming. I'm actually interested in seeing what they roll
Yeah,
out.
That'll be interesting.
And I fully anticipate this to get the 2-liter turbo that the NX debuted
Yeah,
with
and
as
you
well.
said that's good.
That is a fantastic motor. Lexus, if you're listening right now, put it in IS, give us a manual. I don't really care about anything else.
And make an IS Sport Cross version with that powertrain.
There are at least 4 people who want that.
Who's the fourth one?
The guy who's going to approve it, I guess.
Okay. All right. We have
Ooh,
a
that's
silhouette.
pretty.
Oh yeah, I'm very intrigued in
A
this,
silhouette, a
too.
new Oldsmobile.
No, it's,
Oh,
That's-
we have a
that
silhouette
type of silhouette.
of a Chevy
Sorry.
Malibu. Probably the most mainstream car that's actually coming to New York next week. Chevy Malibu. They're saying it's going to be very dramatic. They're not going to do a flubub, soft.
Well, let's just
Softy
say
like the
that,
last
yes,
one.
the last refresh, whatever you want to call it, was a letdown. I think
Yeah,
for everybody.
definitely.
No new
Understatement
ground
of the
broken there,
decade.
and I think it's costing sales, especially at the same time the Fusion came along with this dramatic design.
Well, that was.
and some upscale
And the
looking
Kia.
features. So the competition from all
Yeah.
sorts of areas that Malibu just completely got out of the game on, so to speak. So if they can come out with something that looks good, is as good as the Impala went from its last generation to its current generation,
still think they
if the
cars
Malibu
ugly.
can make a similar leap,
I don't think it's
something
possible to
can-
make a leap that far.
I don't know. It's
Because,
tough, but the
because,
Malibu,
because here's the thing: the Malibu right now is mainstream, kind of boring, kind of Camry-ish,
Yeah, not
whatever.
inoffensive.
But it's not a bad car.
yeah.
The last Impala
It
was it wasn't
wasn't
a bad
bad.
car when it debuted in
It was
2006,
old.
but it was just old.
Yeah, there
Well-
wasn't much to write home
So
about there at the end.
so I don't think it's possible to leap as far forward as the Impala did. But I do agree that this car needs to leap forward.
Yes.
They need to not be conservative like they were from the second gen front wheel drive Malibu to the third gen front wheel
Yeah.
drive Malibu. This needs to push the envelope,
Far and
move
above.
Chevy forward. This is great news though for mid-size America, because for a long time it was just Camry Accord, and
Yeah.
Right.
nobody wanted anything that looked good or that looked stylish.
Well,
but
now
the
you
Fusion
have to
and the
pick something
Optima
that looks
and
good, almost. Well, you don't have to. You
Well,
can
I
still
don't know.
buy
I
an
still
Accord.
have plenty of Camrys and Accords. But
Yeah.
But if the interior is much improved,
Right.
we already know they have released some information about the powertrains. There is going to be a full hybrid version that's supposed to get a very
45
competitive
miles per
45
gallon,
miles per
they're
gallon,
saying,
something like that. So that's all exciting
that,
stuff.
Prius.
If they nail the exterior design,
My one concern
should
about
be
this,
a real winner.
this has a very dramatic rear roof line. Very five-door
think we're
coupe-ish
gonna
looking.
find-
So maybe it's going to be hatchback.
I
like
doubt
the
it.
Max.
I think it's going to have the world's smallest trunk lid back there because they're going,
It's
our
possible.
buyers want sedans. They don't want hatches.
It's also possible
It needs
that
to have a hatch.
that
That roof
lighting-
line is
yeah, but
begging for a
nobody
hatch.
is not going to buy that because the trunk lid is too small.
No, I know, but I'm saying they will buy it and then they will complain, oh, the trunk lid's too small. I can't get this cup in
Well,
there.
I would argue that about just about every sedan out there today.
Yes.
I miss the days when you could put a bicycle in the trunk without.
Or a baby carriage and a full-size spare tire and whatever else
That's
you
my Grand
stuff
Marquis.
in the Grand Marquis.
That's a trunk.
Now that's a trunk.
That's a trunk, and that's not even the biggest trunk I own right now.
I know. Anyway, so that's the end of the
Yes,
news
excited to see the Malibu.
that I have.
Am
I
I supposed to
have
have
news?
some?
No.
You failed to mention that I was supposed to have some news.
Oh, okay. All right.
No. You're in the wrong decade. It's 2014. We're reviewing that Mazda 3. That Mazda 3. Okay, full disclosure, we at Automotive Trends are Mazda 3 fans. We've loved them since a decade ago when they came out with that model right there because, as you can tell, we actually part with our own hard-earned money to drive them. That's senior editor Jason Muxlow's personal ride. Still a fantastic car 10 years later, but we're taking a look at the 2014 model today, which Mazda has loaned us a second go-around because we've previously reviewed the mid-level touring sedan, what we have here is the fully loaded Grand Touring hatchback. And both are great in their own right, but what you get when you step up to the Grand Touring trim like this is the S model, which comes with the 2.5 liter engine. Still a great engine, but now rated at 184 horsepower and 185 pound-feet of torque. And it's good for fuel economy of 28 miles per gallon in the city and 38 miles per gallon on the highway. So pretty strong results there. However, you remember the smaller 2 liter in the mid-level trim that we've previously reviewed is good for 41 miles per gallon on the highway. So there is a fuel economy penalty there, but you're picking up about 35 horse, somewhere in there, and you can feel it. It's a little faster for sure. One of our big disappointments though, if you want this faster engine in the 18-inch wheels and everything to go along with it, you are stuck with the 6-speed automatic transmission. Now, it is a great transmission. It's quite capable in its own right, and it does have paddle shifters if you want to do all that. But the 6-speed manual in the regular Mazda 3 is just hard, very, very hard to beat from an enthusiast angle. So we wish they'd hurry up and offer a manual transmission here. But as you take a look around the vehicle, I think you will believe us when we say I don't think there's anything with this level of detail that looks simultaneously sporty, simultaneously upscale in the segment. I think it starts at the front end with the great, very recognizable Mazda grille, all the way through the trim work, the LED accents on the tail lights, the sharp headlights, dual exhaust like there should be. It's very hard to come by in the small sedan or hatch segment. They usually cheap out there, but Mazda's done it right. Now, pretty good space in the back if you fold the seats. Otherwise, Mazda's done something here, and you can see for illustration purposes, on the older body style, you got a more elongated roof and a more vertical hatch, which gave you a pretty nice cube of cargo space in the back. Now you'll see over here just how severe this cut is, and that means that whatever you're sticking in there can't be more than a foot or two tall, because when you slam the trunk, you're going to hit it on this this steeply raked back glass. So the way around that is to fold the back seats. Now, outside of that, yeah, there's still a little bit of capacity back there. Now the second row is a bit tight. Now there's all right headroom. I'm 6 foot. I have the front seat adjusted the way I drive it. Mazda has done a nice job scalloping out the back of the seat here to buy you a few precious inches. So when I sit up straight, my knees just grace the front seat back, but I'm fine on headroom. And other than that, we do wish they would include air vents back here for the second row. As is, there's nothing there, and that can be a bit of an issue if you're going to carry passengers on a regular basis. But inside, we do love the Grand Touring trim, complete with nice leather two-tone trim. We love the red accent stitching around. Mazda has one of the best steering wheels in the business right now. Just a great look, great feel. All the buttons that you actually need on a regular basis are there, and they're straightforward, easy to use. We also like in this model, almost makes it worth the price of the price premium to step up to it, is the instrument cluster features an analog tachometer front and center with a little cutout for a digital speedometer, and we think that is by far the way they should do all the instrument clusters. But you'll remember on the lesser trims with the 2.0 engine, you get this super funny looking little digital tachometer on the left pod, and then you get an analog speedometer in the middle. Yet that's the model that you might have a manual transmission in and really need the tachometer information. So Mazda, if you're listening, please make this the standard across the lineup. We have to sing the praises of Mazda's development team for the infotainment system, because here they've combined a couple of win-wins, one of which is they made it both touchscreen responsive. You can actually touch it when you're parked and choose things, type in your address, all that kind of stuff. Or you can use their excellent center console mounted kind of controller here, which has both a great physical feel to it, as well as your volume control down here like an Audi model might have. And you've also got quick shortcut keys to get to your audio or your nav screen, as well as a back button. It's all very intuitive, graphically pleasing, very quick to respond, and just logically laid out a joy to use, whereas most of these systems can be very tedious or frustrating. This one isn't. Other than that, though, the ergonomics are superb. The center stack really is unbeatable. The dual climate control is very straightforward. The switch gear feels several classes above where this car competes in price point. About $26,500 for the Grand Touring hatchback here. Before they add on a few things we don't really think you need, like a very comprehensive safety technology package with the radar cruise control, blind spot monitoring, the IE loop, capacitive regeneration system, all that stuff you don't really need to have a great driver's car. Actually runs this one up to just over $30,000. And like I said, you stick about $26,500, you're really going to enjoy this vehicle. However, you've really got to drive both of them, I think, because there's a lot of fun to be had in the base model for the low $20,000 range. You just got to ask yourself, do I need leather? Do I need maybe the heads-up display system? Is that stuff something necessary to me, or can I do with cloth trim and get out the door for about $22,500? We'd also, of course, like the option of the manual transmission. Other than that, we don't have a lot of complaints. A little less road noise maybe, but compared to where Mazdas were before on wind noise and all that kind of harshness that used to be let in, they've really done a nice job refining the car in that capacity. So really we can't even complain about that much anymore. You owe it to yourself to check out the Mazda 3. If you're buying any of the competition, it's only because maybe you can get a better deal or something. There's really not a lot of incentives on these Mazdas because they sell very well. We're talking a very awarded car, and justifiably so. Simply the best car in its class. It doesn't matter if you get the 2-liter or this 2.5, doesn't matter if you get the sedan or the hatch, manual or automatic. You are going to be delighted with your purchase, and there's a lot to love here. You'll feel good about owning this car. If you're in the $25,000 range, you will not find anything better on the market today than the Mazda 3.
Really?
No,
it's not. So there is
Recording
nothing more you can find for $25,000. That's the best one you can find for that price?
The best car that will serve all purposes.
Bar none. No, you're on camera stating this, right?
I stand by the Mazda 3. Like I said in the video, I think most of that stuff is not necessary. I like the $22,000 version.
Good, because I want to go put a deposit on this thing right now, because I believe it.
Yeah. You can get more
if
specialized.
If you had $24,000 to spend on a car, you would buy a new Mazda 3 over a used this, that, other.
No.
Well, we're not comparing it against.
I know. I'm just saying.
If I was any other person besides myself, that doesn't make any sense now, does it? No.
The bottom line is,
I want that car.
You can recommend that car as a family car or whatever, and it's going to have very up-to-date, contemporary infotainment system, Bluetooth, all those little extras
good handling,
that other automakers
fun to
might
drive,
charge extra for, or whatever it might be. That car always has felt like it is a class above where it competes and where it's priced, and I think that's the brilliance of the 3
in all
success.
areas except MVH.
But that's dramatically improved in the new one.
Yes.
Mazda just can't let up on that. They've got to continually improve that. They do have some ground to make up there, but they didn't take a nice leap forward.
Yes.
And the good news is that video, we now have driven. Mazda loosened the reins a bit, and it'll let you have the larger engine now in 2015 models with the manual transmission, and that is predictably brilliant. I've driven that, and
you're the only one that has driven that, because I was in China then.
You were.
You had to schedule it when the one car I was most looking forward to all year long. You scheduled it when I was out of the country.
Just take my word for it. It was brilliant. The manual in the Mazda 3 is a very, very willing partner, and smooth when you want it to be, and direct. It's just wonderful. So you really, really need to drive a Mazda 3 if you're looking in the new car market. The Volkswagen Golfs and all those, we're going to be driving those shortly.
Yep.
From what we've heard, those have really also taken a step forward in the market. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I don't think for the low $20,000 range you can get a better all-around four-door car.
Do you have anything to input here?
I didn't drive it.
And on that bombshell, we'll see you next time. Look, see how easy that was?
I tried to hit it. I couldn't reach.
Okay, you don't really have to hit it. Fudge. I've completely lost her.
Who's driving this boat?